today we are building farms. We are going to build sugarcane, honey, aka honey and honeycomb, kelp, and bamboo. But first, we have something very, very important to do. Ooh, almost walked into the fire. Okay, first thing first. Over here in our villager trading hall, if you remember from a previous episode, we had a big empty bit of grass in the center. Well, guess what? It is not big and empty anymore. Built a nice little oasis that we can put our sniffers in. Got a little cave, a little pond. Hang on, let's go on in. Got some a little pond here, little cave, and if we come down to the downstairs, look, they even have a downstairs little garden area they can hang out in. Look at that, yay! So we're gonna go ahead and put our sniffers in their new home. One, and we'll go put the other two up top. Right here should be fine, right? Right next to the water. You can go right there. You can go right there. And we will hopefully have some sniffers very soon, and I hope they won't be able to escape. I didn't put any blocks right up against the wall or the fence, so it should be okay, but we'll see. We might have to redesign, but we'll just figure it out when that time comes. But now on to today's task. So I said we're building farms, right? Well, gosh, okay. Yeah, we got a big old open space here, flattened out a whole bunch of land. Because I cannot build on multi levels. I'm not there yet. So this is all flat, and this looks kind of crazy right now, but I'll explain what is going on here. Okay, come on down here. Come over here to this sign right here. Sugarcane. And back here. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. Honey. Okay, but why all these random blocks? Because I'm gonna obviously put them inside of a building. They're not just gonna be chilling out. Because again, remember, we're building this based on the town of Bad Kloisnock. So in Bad Kloisnock, there are two churches of significance, and the cobblestone marks the kind of the corners of one of the churches, and the other one is going to be over there. We'll go see that later. And the granite is where the farms are going to be. So this will be sugarcane. This will be another bit of sugarcane. This right here is going to be a walkway. This is going to be honey comb? No, this one is going to be just the honey bottles. And this little section right here will be the honeycomb. And I've tried to gather most of the things that we're going to need over in these chests. So this is our honey farm. I've got all these. These are all full of bees. This one I had used to get honeycomb from to make more hives. So that's why it's empty. But there's bees inside all of these. And this will be for our sugarcane. So I think we're going to start with the bee one because I kind of feel bad leaving them trapped in these beehives inside of a chest. It's kind of sad. So I feel like we should get them started first. And now, while I build the farm, you get to find out way more about bees than you ever thought you would know. Ready, set, go! Now you can't see me. See me? Now you can't see me. Okay, no, for real. Go!
Bees are in the genus Apis, and there are 7 species, with many strains of each species. Apis mellifera is the species more commonly referred to as the honeybee. Bees are born male or female, and there are 2 types of females, queens and workers. Males are drones. The queen mates with several drones for genetic diversity and collects their sperm in a sac called a spermatheca, which is an additional part of her reproductive system and allows her to control whether or not the eggs she lays are fertilized. Unfertilized eggs become males, the drones. Worker bees, the other females, can also lay unfertilized eggs if more drones are needed. Fertilized eggs become female, and only the females have stingers. Eggs hatch in 3 days. The larvae are called grubs. All grubs are fed royal jelly for 3 days. Royal jelly is somewhat similar to breast milk, but it is produced in the salivary glands of the worker bees rather than in mammary glands. Some of the female grubs will continue to be fed only royal jelly. These females will become future queens. The grubs then develop into pupa. Queens will emerge after 16 days, workers in 21, and the drones finish developing at 24 days. The queens will then battle it out until only one remains in the hive. The old queen will leave with her workers before the new queens emerge and build a new colony elsewhere. Drones usually leave the hive in the winter to reduce stress on the food supply. Bees eat 2 types of food, both from flowers. Pollen is their protein, and nectar their carbohydrates. Nectar is a sugary liquid containing sucrose. The nectar is converted into honey as a food source when flowers aren't in bloom. It's a long and frankly quite strange process to make honey. The worker bees, specifically forager bees, collect nectar from flowers through a special tongue called a proboscis. The bee stores the nectar in its honey stomach until she returns to the hive. Inside the honey stomach are enzymes that break down the sucrose in the nectar into the simpler sugars, glucose and fructose. At the hive, the forager bee passes the nectar to a house bee. If the honey stomach wasn't weird enough, don't worry, it gets weirder. The bees transfer the nectar mouth to mouth. This process helps to further break down the sugar and starts to reduce the water content in the nectar. The nectar is then put into the cells of the honeycomb. The bees fan their wings to help evaporate more of the water until it is below 20%. And now we have honey. The bees put a wax cap over the cell to preserve the honey. A single bee will make about 1/12 a teaspoon, that's 0.8 grams, of honey in her lifetime. And it takes about 2 million flower visits for a hive to produce 1 pound, 500 grams, of honey. Thank goodness, though, it is not that complicated in Minecraft. A well-maintained hive can produce a lot of excess honey, even around 55 pounds of excess per year, so it's okay for a beekeeper to collect some. Honey can be bought in different forms. The form we are most familiar with is liquid. You've probably also heard of comb honey. This is when it is still in the honeycomb, the structure with all the cells where the bees store the honey. And it's edible too. You can just munch on the whole thing. Then there's cut comb honey. This is just the liquid form with a chunk of the comb in it. We also have crystallized honey, which is when some of the glucose has crystallized. It is also still safe to eat. And lastly, whipped honey. That's when it has been purposefully crystallized and turns into a consistency better for spreading. Every batch of honey will have a unique taste, smell, and color depending on the flowers the nectar came from. Some surprising varieties are buckwheat, which results in a dark honey with notes of molasses and malt; blueberry, which tastes a bit fruity and has a slightly buttery finish; avocado, another dark honey and strongly flavored as molasses; and orange blossom, which is a white to light amber color, tastes sweet and fruity, and you'll never guess, smells like oranges.
That way. That way. Uh-oh. Okay, I interrupt our current programming to say that we have a slight situation. Oh, hey, just grew up. Oh my god, it's a thunderstorm. Yeah, slight situation. They can indeed get out, and they've all decided to live in the bottom as well, which is interesting. It'll be fine though. I've blocked off the exits for the time being, and oh, look at the snoot. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, buddy. Yeah, we're just gonna have to. Oh, now they're all grown up. We're just gonna have to figure that out. Okay. I think we're ready to put the bees into their home. Let's see how this goes. Okay. Gonna work fine. It's going to work fine. Okay. Okay, I kinda need you to get out of the way. Kinda need you to get out of the way. Oh, this is about to be so hectic in here. Okay, guys, I need you to move. I probably should have waited till nightfall. That probably would have been a good idea. Hey, that worked. They're all in. Farm seems to be working. At least the honeycomb part is working. We'll go check the honey bottle part. Let's see. Doo-doo. Hey, look at that. We got honey. We got honeycomb. Everything is working. Woohoo! That is fantastic. So, farm number 1, done. Now it's time we move on to farm number 2, sugarcane, which hopefully will be easier to do than the bees. We'll see. It should be. Okay. Let's keep going.
Sugarcane is a water-intensive plant. It really likes water. This characteristic is reflected in-game by it having to be planted next to a water source. Sugarcane is a perennial grass that comes in green, red, and even purple. I wish we had purple sugarcane in-game because that is my favorite color. It doesn't grow from seeds, but rather from stalk cuttings, also called seed cane. These cuttings have buds that can germinate once planted. This is also reflected in the game. What we don't see within the game, though, are the leaves. Sugarcane actually has very sharp leaves. You don't want to plant it near a pathway because someone could get cut by the sharp leaves. Sugarcane covers about 65 million acres worldwide. There's about a dozen countries that use at least 25% of their agricultural land for its production. And as of 2015, Brazil is the largest sugarcane producer, exporting 28 million tons annually. Sugarcane has three main purposes it is bred for. There's chewing sugarcane, which is typically softer and really is for chewing on. Crystal canes are for making sugar. They have high sucrose content. Syrup canes have less sucrose, but they have other forms of sugar molecules that don't crystallize. As for making sugar, it takes 213 gallons of water to make just 1 pound of refined sugar. Sugarcane produces a lot of byproduct when it is processed, primarily bagasse and molasses. When the cane juice is extracted, you're left with the dry stalks and fibers, which is called bagasse. The cane juice is then boiled to encourage crystallization, the formation of sugar. The juice that doesn't crystallize thickens into a syrup or molasses. From the molasses, you can extract ethanol, which is used as a biofuel. Bagasse, those dried bits, can also be used as a fuel source. These fibers aren't entirely dry, there is still some moisture in them, so when they are heated, they release steam, which can be captured in a turbine and converted into electricity. Both bagasse and molasses can be used as fertilizer and as dietary supplements for livestock. Sugarcane fibers can also be broken down and reformed into paper, we already know that, and the cane can also be used similarly to bamboo for things like roofing and making mats. All right, so the bees and the sugarcane farms are both just about done. The bees keep pushing me around, and it's kind of annoying. Let that get picked up. Oh, crap. Okay. Nobody come out. Stay, stay. Ah, there we go. Okay, good. Yeah, so this is working. Kinda, sorta. Good enough, right? And on this side, hold on. Come over here. Working. Great. And we got our sugarcane over here. Boop, 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 boop. Not quite finished, making it look nice. Need some more glass. It's a lot of work. But you know what? It's functional. It is doing stuff, so that's good enough. The chest is right down here. See? It's working. So now we gotta go do the the bamboo and the kelp, which is gonna be over here on the other side of the river. Here we are at the site of the other church where the other two farms will be. So right down here, this is where the bamboo will go. And then there will be more bamboo here and here. And over on this side, there will be kelp here and here. Obviously, this is kind of in the way. It's sort of in the middle of the church space. The door is right over here. Here. So this is going to have to move, but that's for a later task when we actually go build the church. For now, we need to build the farms. Then we can make everything look nice. So let's get started with the bamboo. Bamboo is a type of grass. There's a lot of species. While researching, I found 2 counts. One resource said 1,450 species, the other said 1,645. Either way, it's a lot. Bamboo is the fastest growing plant. In one day, it can grow 60 centimeters, almost 2 feet or more. It holds some impressive 24-hour records. Third best comes in at 91 centimeters of growth in 24 hours. That's 35.8 inches, or almost 3 feet. Next is 119 centimeters, which is 46.9 inches, almost 3 feet. And first place comes in at 121 centimeters of growth. That's 47.6 inches, just shy of 4 feet. With such an insane growth rate, you do have to be careful. If not properly maintained, bamboo can become invasive. Bamboo can grow in hot and cold environments, not just in jungles like we see in Minecraft. Bamboo propagates through a root system called rhizomes. A rhizome looks similar to the stem of the plant, it's just underground and horizontal rather than above ground and vertical. The rhizome can grow in 2 ways, either clumped together, which is called sympodial, or in a relatively straight line, which is called monopodial. New stalks develop from nodes on the rhizome. More on nodes in a second, but first let's talk about the culm. The culm is the stalk, the part of the plant that you see above ground. It's probably what you think of when you picture bamboo in your head. The culm is strong and flexible. making it useful in many contexts. We'll get to that in a moment. While the nodes on the rhizome promote new culm growth and roots, the nodes on the culm are for branches and leaves. Thanks to the rhizome root system, bamboo doesn't need to be replanted, making it more sustainable. It's also good for the environment. It captures lots of CO2, carbon dioxide, and produces a lot of oxygen. One study found that bamboo produces more oxygen per plant than trees do, though by how much varies by species. The rhizome root system is also helpful in holding together soil, reducing erosion, and it helps to bring underground water closer to the surface, helping other plants. The rhizomes also store water during excessive rainfall. Bamboo is used to make various products, like things for hygiene, such as toilet paper or tissues, and it can also be turned into fabric. Remember how we said the culm, the stalk we think of, is strong and flexible? It's also weather resistant and highly durable, which makes bamboo great for furniture and construction. Because of bamboo's sustainability, fast growth rate, ability to handle a wide range of climates and weather conditions, and how much less it weighs compared to a tree, and being easier to process, it is an important commodity to struggling economies. Kelp may look like a plant, but it is actually an algae. It's basically a large brown or brownish green seaweed that grows in cool waters. There's a lot of different types, just shy of 200 species. Kelp grows on the rocky seafloor in water that is 5 to 20 degrees Celsius or 42 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit and between 15 to 40 meters or 50 to 130 feet deep, though there are exceptions to both temperature and depth. Kelp relies on photosynthesis, so it is usually in shallow, cold, nutrient-rich water near coasts. Some species have bulbs or air sacs near the top leafy part to get the leafy part closer to the water's surface and the sunlight for photosynthesis. It's like having a built-in personal flotation device. Kelp height can vary greatly. Kelp in the genus Laminaria grows to 1 to 3 meters or 3.3 to 9.8 feet tall, whereas the giant kelps in genus Macrocystis can be up to 65 meters or 215 feet tall. It grows in dense clumps, creating kelp forests. These forests mimic terrestrial or land forests by having a mix of kelp types, just like how the forests we usually think of have a mix of tree types and other vegetation. Kelp forests are also barriers against waves and currents, helping to reduce coastal erosion. They also provide food and shelter for a lot of marine life. Kelp forests also act as nurseries where some animals will spend their adolescence somewhat hidden from predators before maturing and venturing into the open sea. They are also home to unique species that can't be found anywhere else. The bamboo kelp forests of South Africa are home to the blue Hottentot fish. I love that name, Hottentot. It's both cute and posh. Off the coast of Australia, you can find the leafy sea dragon and dumpling squid. Both are insanely cool looking, and based on appearances alone, I wouldn't mind being reincarnated as a leafy sea dragon. Because of the abundant sea life, kelp forests are also feeding grounds for some birds. But how does kelp grow? It's a process. A mature kelp releases spores. These spores drift on the current until they settle on the ocean floor. The spore develops into a gametophyte, which can be either male or female. The male gametophyte releases sperm and the female eggs. And just like in mammalian reproduction, very few sperm find their way into an egg. But when that happens, the next stage of development begins, called sporophyte. The sporophyte is what grows into kelp, and then the process starts over. This is probably why kelp grows in a cluster. I'm hypothesizing here, but I think it makes sense. There will be a higher concentration of spores closer to the parent kelp, which means a higher concentration of gametophytes, and with more gametophytes in an area, there's a greater likelihood of a sperm and egg fusing. That's just my hypothesis, though. We humans use kelp for a few purposes. We use it as a direct food source, as fertilizer. We also use it in soap and toothpaste, and we can also use it as a stabilizing agent in some foods like ice cream. Kelp is at risk from overfishing, overeating, more specifically sea urchins eating too much kelp and creating these things called urchin barrens, and kelp is also at risk due to climate change. Welcome back. Our bamboo and kelp farms are almost finished, just having to put down some more glass. Did make a few errors, but you know what? That's part of the learning process. You probably saw earlier I totally messed up with some railroad and powered rails, and I was locking a hopper over on the bee farm over there. But look, I did it right over here though. I learned and I did it right on the first try. So, as I said, the farms are almost done. Again, just putting in some glass and closing off the top at some point. On the kelp farms, they are not going to be operated by observers like on the other farms, although I might end up changing the bamboo to be like the kelp. What I'm going to do instead for the kelp is use a hopper clock, which is going to go right here where the portal is, basically, since the middle of the entry here is somewhere right around here. I think it's actually on this block, I think, is the middle. So yeah, we're going to actually put a hopper clock right in this area, so I'm going to have to move this somewhere, which kind of messes up future plans, but that's okay. I think I have a workaround, so something else to do. And I'm going to kind of make the hopper clock into a sort of like altar thingy, since we're going to be building in a church, or we're going to build a church up around what we've put here. So I think that's what we'll do. Man, this took a lot more glass than I thought. Holy smokes. I am out. This is my last stack of glass. So I've got a lot more work to do to finish this up. But alright, let's get back to building the hopper clock here, and then hopefully we'll be able to see if everything works correctly. Hi, welcome back. The hopper clock is complete. It is hooked up over here to the kelp farm, this one and this one. I'll probably end up just doing the same thing with the bamboo. I think it'll be easier than doing an observer, but that's for a later date. So this is set up to go off every about 70 minutes, roughly, thereabouts, because for the kelp to grow 10 blocks high, it'll take about 70 minutes. That's just how high I decided I wanted it. So yeah, how this works over here in the back, all of these have to go from one hopper to the other and then back again. And when that happens, one full cycle there and back again, it'll move one piece from here to here or vice versa. And once all the pieces have moved, all 9 of here have moved one at a time, again, after all these go through a full cycle. One at a time, these move when all these have moved. This block will either be in front of the observer, or it'll be moved away from the observer. Either way, the observer detects the change and it sends a pulse through to the pistons to knock the kelp. So yeah, this should take about 70 minutes. Again, it's not like perfect, but it's pretty close. And yeah, that is going to be it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. not trying to line up for any particular reason. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me, and have a great rest of your day. Bye!